Hey guys, so today is a bit of a short video, and this video is very relevant to people who attend tournaments and especially people who attend WSDC-style tournaments. So a little bit of backstory. I've been sending my debaters to a lot of WSDC-style tournaments. Some of like the really difficult ones that have a lot of national teams attending and things like that. And I've noticed that there's been an interesting trend in the topics and the motions that come out in these tournaments. So, like a real nerd, what I ended up doing is I put all of the debate tournaments in the past 6 months onto a spreadsheet. And I spreadsheeted out all the motions, and then I categorized all of the motions into different types of motions. And then I also wrote down which tournaments they were and who the CAP were for each of those tournaments. And after charting all of that and then turning all of that information into a pie chart, what I realized and what I found is that there are types of motions that are very popular these days. And I kind of want to talk to you about this chart and the data that I found. This is a video for people who are like really nerdy about debate and want to know how to do much better at tournaments. So yeah, let's get into it. The 3 most likely motions that you will find in a WSDC tournament right now are as such. Art and media at number 1 with 15.2% of the share of motions. And then minorities/feminism and ethics, each of them at 12.1% of motions. So if you combine all 3 motion types, basically you have 40% of all the motions happening at these WSDC tournaments being one of those 3 types: minorities/feminism, art/media, and ethics. What I find is these are probably some of the harder motion types, and that's why I think a lot of judges and a lot of CAP are favoring these types of motions. Because art and media is very difficult for students, because what I find is that the most studious students, the best debaters, don't watch a lot of art and media because they're so busy studying. Minorities and feminism also is really difficult because there's a lot of actors and it's an ongoing sort of topic. And ethics. Questions about ethics are very difficult. Motions about ethics can be wildly different, and they are based on principles which are difficult for people to understand. So easier motion types, such as education, have a little bit less of a focus. Or easier motion types like criminal justice system have a little bit less of a focus right now. And the more difficult motions have more focus. Something else that I found is that the vast majority of prepared motions, so motions where you could prepare before the tournament, were international relations motions. Motions where you had to find out things about the world and do a lot of research, which makes sense as to why they were prepared motions. But I would say more than 70% of the prepared motions that were given out were international relations, which I think is really cool because I love international relations, and it forces students to become more knowledgeable about the world. Here's a very interesting fact. So we'll put the table up on the screen somewhere, this right here, okay? When I counted between policy and value motions, 2/3 of all the motions that were happening were values motions. So in a way, for 2/3 of the debates that you do, you don't need to create a model. You don't need to be hyper specific about a certain policy that you're creating, because most of the time you are debating values and values that you stand for and things that you like, instead of something that you would like to force into law. So the majority of WSDC motions these days are values motions. And the last thing I wanted to end with is I looked at all the grand final motions for the past several months, and there's a huge variety. It's really hard to predict what the grand finals motion will be for a tournament, because I think people are being really tricky, the judges and CAP are being very tricky, and they're changing it up. They're having all different types of motions. Like for example, very often people don't put education motions in the grand finals because they think they're too easy. But I've even seen education motions in the grand finals. Of course, there's theoretical motions, ethical motions, motions about feminism, motions about politics. All different types of motions are being found in the grand finals. I'm not going to, I really wanted to put this spreadsheet in the video description and give it to everyone, but I realize maybe it has a little bit too much information. Maybe it has, because it has the names of the CAP for every tournament and all of the motions, and even has the tab for each of these tournaments. So I think I'm gonna keep this to myself, but yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on what tournaments look like this year. And maybe I'll make another one of these videos to see how tournaments evolve, because I really love this kind of data and seeing what topics are out there and what debate tournaments are doing and how they're innovating and how they're changing. So yeah, that's all from me today. That was a very nerdy video, but I'm glad I did it, and I'll see you next time.